Good morning, everybody. Greg the Traveler here. Today I'm in Salem, Massachusetts to explore the dark part of Salem's history, the Salem Witchcraft trials of 1692. I'm going to hit as many museums as I can in one day, and I figured there's no better place to start than probably the most iconic of all of them, the place right behind me, the Salem Witch Museum. Let's go inside and check it out. Alright, so I made it to the back of the museum in the alley. Rachel and Tina were really nice enough to let me in early in the morning, and I'm here at the museum with Rachel, who's the education director of the Salem Witch Museum, and she's been kind enough to offer to show me around before the crowds get here and I have to fight tourists. So Rachel, take it away.
Alrighty, thanks for having me. So we're gonna go inside, see what visitors will see as they enter, see what happens when you go into our first presentation, and take it from there.
Awesome. All right, let's go.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm the Director of Education here at the Salem Witch Museum. So our museum is two presentations. The first part deals specifically with the Salem witch trials. The second part deals with kind of the background to Salem, the European witchcraft trials that were taking place up until 1692. And yeah, so it's the stories. So in the first presentation, you're doing an overview of the 1692 Salem trials. So kind of point by point what happens throughout that year. So in the beginning, visitors see a red lit circle that has the names of those who were executed. And then it starts with a figure of the devil who gives you a little bit of background about the just kind of persistent fears and paranoia that a general Puritan would have felt living in Massachusetts with things like disease and bitter winters and just the harsh living conditions. And then it goes into the first girls, specifically the Putnam family, who are kind of seen to be one of the bigger figures in the witch trials. Anne Putnam Jr. accused probably the most people throughout the trials, so her family, her background, what her life was like. Then we go into the first couple of girls who start to feel their afflictions in a home with Tituba, who is Reverend Samuel Parris's slave. So that first scene where the girls are with Tituba is supposed to be them practicing folk magic and things like that, and that's where that guilt comes from. And then it goes into Dr. Griggs, who is the physician who first examines the afflicted girls and pronounces by his medical knowledge that he doesn't know what is afflicting them, and in a medical sense. So the next natural step is to think it has to be the work of the devil, it's witchcraft. And then see some of the kind of specific trials, notably Rebecca Nurse, who was one of the more unusual people to be accused because she was a upstanding member of the community. She had a large family. She was a matriarch of a upstanding Puritan family. So when she's accused, that's when things start to take a turn, because it means that anybody can be accused. You see her trial, you see the afflicted girls in the courtroom screaming, and just the extreme intensity of what one of those, court experiences would have been like. You see kind of all of the sides of it. John Proctor, who spoke out against the trials, who then later gets accused of witchcraft, which again happens pretty commonly. You get a sense of what it would have been like to be living in the jails. Even if you had people signing petitions in your favor, didn't mean that you were going to be cleared. Again, this is just a mass hysteria. Then you see one of the more gruesome parts, which is Giles Corey being pressed to death.
Moving! So be it then. More weight.
He's the only person that was pressed to death in America, and it was to get him to enter a plea in the court. So essentially he wouldn't allow his trial to proceed. And then we go into the hanging of George Burroughs, who was actually one of the ministers in Salem Village a couple years prior. So he had gone to Maine, and when the girls named him as one of the witches, they went to Maine, brought him back, tried him, and he ends up being executed. And that scene, he's standing on the gallows, he recites the Lord's Prayer, which supposedly, based on folk tests, witch was not supposed to be able to do perfectly, but he stands up there with a noose around his neck and he recites it word for word perfectly, which caused a lot of stirring from the community because, as I said, you weren't supposed to be able to do that. He does end up getting executed, but that's kind of it's a turning point in the trials.
Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen.
And then we end with, the court of Oyer and Terminer is dissolved in October. By that point, nobody else is executed and hanged. And we finish with Ann Putnam's apology, who's the only afflicted girl to come out and publicly say, I apologize for my role in this. Now, that apology also kind of needs to be taken with a grain of salt, because she says, I'm sorry for what happened, but the devil made me do it. So even still, it's sort of an apology. It's more than most.
Hey everybody, thank you for watching my video at the Salem Witch Museum. If you really like it, please click the link below and subscribe to my channel. And if you really like it, it would be awesome if you give it a thumbs up. You can also find me at gregthetraveler.com, and I'll post in the description below links to my Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages so you can follow me there and find out what adventure I'm going on next. I appreciate you watching. I'll see you on the road.
To the famous Salem Witch Museum. We are going to show you the witchcraft trials which took place in Salem Village in 1692. Do you believe in witches? Millions of your ancestors did.